Welcome to today's collective reading. I'm going to begin with clearing with the selenite and the kyanite. And, this is a Himalayan pink salt candle holder there. So everything is ready to go. So let's see what is the current situation? What is weighing on the collective's mind at this time? What's weighing on your hearts? Oh, get that come through. All right, we have the Oracle. So your intuition, definitely your intuition. Now that's number 13, which breaks down to a 4. So it's foundational. This is a core part of who you are. And we have the Queen of Pentacles, the King of Cups to her right. And then we have the Ace of Cups. And I think that's the Joker. This is interesting. This is a regular deck of cards here. So it's a wild card. There's a wild card present when it comes to an offer of emotion or love. And to her, this is upright. But from our perspective, it's inverted. But she, being, which represents you, being connected to both the earth and, you know, the heavens, she's interpreting, she's opening herself. This receptive energy, this could definitely be resonating with a man who's opening to those more subtler messages, finds themselves being receptive to these synchronicities. And you're trying to figure it out a little bit. There's a little bit of a question on the face there. So that is the overall situation right now. As you're trying to understand something that came through intuitively, that you received, you're receptive to. Well, okay then. I have the, okay, yeah, that came out inverted, actually. The deck was upright. But I typically read this particular deck in the upright. So we have the Ace of Wands. When that happens here with this deck, it's a sign that there's something that isn't what it appears to be. And being that this particular card, it speaks to your protection, to your showing the way, your light shining has it's shown bright enough for this protection to acknowledge your presence, to protect you and aid you in your path before you. There's definitely magician energy here. And then it came out inverted. This is a download that is contradicting something that you thought you knew. And it may not be what it seemed to be. So it's casting a lot of shadows on other truths that you thought were set in stone, that you thought were, you know, you could reach out and touch them. You can knock on them if you wanted to, that they were there, tangible, immovable. Okay. I'm gonna get some more specific synchronicities for you guys. Like what's the energies around this? What is influencing this? Like good, bad, you know, oh, you're taking the time to really take a good look at it, to spend some time with it, because what you're having to make a decision on based upon, but now is seeming to possibly be an untruth that you thought was a truth. It's worth taking a good look at to be certain, right? You're being cautious. Now, the fact that the Ace of Wands came out and that's what it represents, you are acknowledged. You are protected. That's why this is coming through. It could very well just be a test of your own confidence and your discernment. So, let's get some specifics here for the collective. All right. Oh, this has to do with your happiness. 19, the Sun, 10, the completion of that. Okay, so it has to do with your happiness. And you know there's going to be a lot present within that you're surprised about, but you have a pretty good idea of what it is. You know what your heart longs for. And then we have the Knight of Cups coming out inverted. It's possible that whatever you're working towards, whatever you're moving towards is not responding as you thought they would. You thought maybe they'd be a little more receptive to romantic gestures, thus the inverted. But with the Nine of Swords here, your presence is possibly coming in and it's like a confirmation almost. So they feel they can actually heal now. They can rest, they can rejuvenate. They can have an ally that confirms for them this dove taking, you know, on all these ravens and crows. In this particular deck, this represents thoughts. So these are negative thoughts. So she was being swarmed by these negative thoughts. And then in comes this light energy, this dove energy, and it's a force that is pushing that back. And there's definitely an aiding with this light around that dove. And this stuff seems to be not completely physical where the ravens are. So this could be intuitive. This could be the energy that precedes the physical presence of someone or precedes you. So this is the energies around it. And you possibly had a thought that it would be a certain way, and what you're discovering is that it's what you thought was going on is possibly not what has been going on. You probably thought that this dove energy would come in, your energy would precede you, and you'd encounter this very joyful, happy person. What you actually encountered was someone who was being attacked by these thoughts. And this could definitely just be their own inner critic, but there's an otherworldly influence to it. So they possibly were really dealing with a lot of oppression. And thus they were not like, yay, let's be romantic and fun and silly. They were more like, oh, thank God you're here. Okay. Do we have anything, you know, that we need to know about this situation in particular going into it that could maybe clear up this question of, is this the truth? Is this legitimate? Is there some synchronicity? There were certain messages that kind of came through in the pre-meditation that kind of they're making a little sense now. It's you have to trust your intuition, and that sometimes truly the only way out of confusion is to move directly into what confuses you. And whatever is causing you to resist that, okay, we're not supposed to use this deck. Whatever is causing you to resist that, you know, if it's seeking the approval of others, you're having an external locus of control. You're determining your worth based upon how you're viewed, perceived. And that cannot really bring about true happiness. Okay. So, the disciple of ritual. This has so many deep meanings. I mean, you're basically in... I want to say like the stones at Karnak, or, you know, Stonehenge, like the stone monuments, really, the monoliths, sacred spaces to ancient peoples, and this light, this wisdom coming through the trees, possibly fairy magic could maybe be a significant symbol to you. Gaia. You're greeting the other world. You're greeting your intuition. You're greeting this light. And the fact that you're a student of ritual, it implies that there is a pattern, a system, a logical structure to discerning the truth of it versus the falseness in it. So what have you been learning on your path to this moment? What have you been learning? What has, to fall back on that wisdom, to fall back on that, to look within yourself for the answer, not outside of yourself. Definitely a sense of test. Oh, yep. And then we have the devil upright here. And that is 15, which breaks to a 6. 40 is 4. So then this is a 10. This is the challenge, the test, the pass. Once you really have a mastery of this and move through this, you'll find yourself in the sun energy once more. I have a feeling that you've already mastered quite a bit of what once took your power from you. You've already transitioned quite a bit of that locus to internal. You've made friends with the aspects of you that once kind of took your power from you. You're recognizing that they're teachers. And that your thought directs how everything actually moves. And with thought, you trigger your emotion, and with your emotion and your thought on the same page, you manifest, you create. A lot of that has to do with confidence. Confidence in the path that you choose. We have the 3 of Wands here. There were 3 options, 3 pathways, and you weren't really possibly very sure which one to take, which one would work the best, because you were looking to receive a synchronicity, a sign, some kind of intervention, if you will, some kind of answer. You received that answer, and the answer that you got left you a little bit confused, because you thought that what was happening on the other side, this other energy that you're manifesting with, was one way, and it turned out not to be that way. But you have chosen a path, and you are focused on that destination. It's very emotional. Possibly far more comfortable in the thought realm versus the emotion, but you're grounded, so you're able to cope with that better. Okay. We have the 5 of Cups inverted. You have a mermaid. You have a receptive energy who kept acting assertively. So this receptive energy would come, and they'd bring a cup, and like maybe they were like, all right, you know, we could meet here at this time. I have everything ready. And then you didn't show because they were acting assertive. And they were supposed to be receptive, not assertive. So This image represents basically being stood up a couple of times. And that disappointment. This could definitely be that energy. Because it's possible that they are used to being more assertive. And their lesson in this is to be receptive. Now, that it's inverted means that they are able, because of this communication, the synchronicity that came in from your higher self, your guardians, your guides, divine, you've both manifested this ability to have some kind of a synchronicity come through to allow this receptive energy to actually be receptive and be comfortable in that position. There was a lot of anxiety because they're used to manifesting through being assertive. So this is being mirrored back to you. It's almost as you make friends with your inner challenges and you overcome that, they're able to as well. Okay. And then we have the Knight of Pentacles inverted. Now, I have like a neon light flashing right now that says, there's movement, but it's not slow. There's movement, but it's not slow. This is that moment, the pause before all the action, right? Like you're approaching that one domino and you tip that domino and then everything starts to fall. And it's this really complicated and cool like maze of falling dominoes. So this is that moment just before that first domino goes. So that pause. Okay, so what do we need to know about what's coming? What's influencing once this domino falls? What do we need to know about what, like hopes, fears, which fears, I really like the acronym of fear is false evidence appearing real. So when you experience something, keep in mind that you're anticipating a future or a possible outcome that isn't actually happening. And because you're focusing there, you could be creating it. Now, that's if you're chronically ruminating there. If you go to your fear and you go, you know what? I understand why I feel this way. I understand everything around it. And I hear that. I acknowledge that I feel this way. And I let that be. I'm informed. I don't need to have it constantly bugging me. And it will it'll be on the back burner. That you're aware that that's something you don't quite have an answer for yet. And that's where it sits. But if you resist it, it persists. So if you approach that, you acknowledge it head on. Thus, the only way out is through. It stops having like this buildup of energy, feeding it, making it so it's so overwhelming. Okay. So what's coming is the Wonder Hunter. So you have a flying reindeer here. There's no red nose, but definitely a Christmas vibe to it. Flying over this I don't know, like orchard or forest. You know, it's not necessarily dark and gloomy though, because its flowering is all white and light. There's a bunch of flowers around the bottom too, so it's not like there's a negative here. There's so many butterflies coming out of her hair too, and her cloak. I have a bit of a feel of like a Mary Poppins thing, like something that once was an ordeal turned into, like it was Mary Poppins, and then it became the thing, and now it's Mary Poppins again. And it's making that transition, beginning to own that. That's what's coming. It's got a very dreamy vibe to it too. Whoop, okay, all right, we got 2. So we have the Tower and the 2 of Wands. So there's a lot of change in what's coming. There's a lot of change. Now, I have a speaker that I listen to here and there that speaks on Buddhist philosophy. And she was talking about how one of her favorite teachers basically summed up all the teachings into keep calmly knowing change. The Tower is change. And it looks ominous. Yes, but you have been doing so much work, and so has this energy you've been manifesting. Whether you've met this energy or not, whether you know them or not, what you seek seeks you. So you're calling this in. So there's a lot of change that's happening here within structures that no longer serve you. Relationships, dynamics, jobs, so on and so forth, that are actually a hindrance to having manifested what you seek. So there's so much change coming in, and it's to be calm in the midst of that, because that is what life is. It's change is, like, life is change. 2 words summarizing life. It changes. Like, it's just constantly in a state of change. So what you are manifesting here is the sun. So all of these changes are pulling in the space, the environment, the healing within you to embody that version of you that is that happy. So yeah, things may be a little bit, you're not quite so sure at times. But you can trust your higher self in this. Your higher self in a lot of ways is your future self. Is definitely your future self. So if you're getting some kind of a download or a synchronicity or some kind of an intervention, it's the divine within you that's speaking to you. It's source within you that's going, hey, I want my current now to be better than it is. And I know at this moment, if I had had this knowledge, it could have been better. So here you go. Here's this knowledge. So going with that flow, opening to that concept that when you get those synchronicities, when that dove that's not quite physical comes in and creates a change in your physical environment, i.e. getting rid of a lot of this really overwhelming and amplified negative experience, to trust that, to know that it's on its way to being corporeal. In other words, you could reach out and poke this person in the cheek and go, oh, you're real. Okay, so let's get some clarifiers for this. Oh, wow, that's really quick. And we have the devil in here twice. Now, in this particular deck, there are so many strings coming off of his fingers that are attached to this individual here that just does not want to hear all these thoughts and all the emotions that it triggers. And it's kind of entrancing if you look at him. So it's a delusion, it's an illusion, it's almost hypnotic. But this is what's changing. You're going to be you're already aware that there's intervention coming in, that these ties are being cut, that you are going to be able to perceive where you're being manipulated more clearly, and actually be able, in that awareness that you're being manipulated, remove that sword. This highlights 8 of Sword energy, but it's where you allow it. Because you've been hypnotized, because you've been dealing with illusionary energy that's been keeping you from seeing the truth. Once you see that truth, the swords start to go away because you become aware. So more and more of these swords that now with your awareness, you're not going to allow them to be there. They're going to be being exposed. Okay, all right. Well, we did an acrobatic there. you're no longer in this Two of Swords. You're not stuck with, oh gosh, which way do I go? Is it this way? Is it that way? There's this upwelling of light energy within you because you look within. And you trust that intuition, that light, which is the love. There's a very clear difference in how the negative thoughts and emotions and feelings that were amplified and you just were not allowed to rest. There's a very big difference in how this feels versus how this light, non-corporeal, because you could see it's pretty see-through. There's a very big difference in how that feels intuitively. And you're going with that. And you're basically saying, I'm not choosing between them. I'm going my own way. And I don't care if I'm blindfolded. I trust my intuition. I don't need to see with my eyes. I have a third eye that's open. Ooh, I got like badass vibes there. Like, oh, hell no. This is unacceptable. I will not accept this. That's a very empowered energy. Very empowered. Good for you. Keep in mind, this is also being mirrored back to you. What you're manifesting, who you're manifesting, is also experiencing this. Even if it's not in the same exact time, it's something that they do go through. Page of Cups in the upright. Whew. So this is highlighting the non-corporeal here, because this is a non-corporeal. And there's a heart in between there, and it's got some colors of the rainbow in it. It's red and yellow, and I think a little bit green. Definitely romance, love based. What you've been calling in, you don't think can be real. You think that it only exists in movies, or, you know, so it's kind of surreal that these things are starting to happen, because you're like, wait, what? I thought that was just something that couldn't, huh? There's that kind of a, really? Nah, come on. Nah. But even though you're aware of this, that space that you're in there is what allows the divine, the source within you and this other individual to make that Three of Pentacles, and for the both of you to experience the divine within, relating with one another in this physical realm. This is the void, what you don't know. You haven't been so nitpicky about every little detail that you find yourself manifesting something that's not really what you ended up wanting because you were so specific. Part of living life is being firmly in the now and allowing the divine to go, hey, I love you. Here you go. And you're like, I didn't even know I wanted that. This is awesome. This is exactly where you need to be right now in manifesting this tower. This all feels related to this tower. Definitely. Do we have any specifics for this Two of Wands? Like, I feel there's a little bit of, how do you feel about yourself going through this? And what do you need to know about what's on the other side of this threshold that maybe, you know, could be, like, what are your hopes? What are your fears? What do you need to look at? What do you need to talk to? What fear may come up that you actually do need to directly talk to, look at, focus on, so you can say, all right, now I'm going to give to my hope because I've addressed my fear. Whoa, okay, like that really wanted to come out. Okay, so your fear or your hope in this Two of Cups, or Two of Wands, my bad, because it is the Two of Cups. So the Two of Cups is inverted, clarifying the Two of Wands. There's concern that what you have been manifesting, because you have an idea. This is for those in the collective watching that think they know who this person is. This could be a returning energy. You're concerned they're not going to be on the other side. Yep. There's the concern with that, definitely. That you have possibly elevated beyond them, or they have elevated their energy beyond where you are. There's concern about that, because you want those both to be upright. So dive into those, acknowledge them fully, and be like, all right, cool. Now I'm going to give it to my hope, because I'm fully aware of what my fear was. So let's go into those hopes here. The hope is that you will have a balanced offer coming in. That Ace of Pentacles, it's ready to be planted, because it has all these roots coming off of it. That is a seed for like the giant redwoods in California. Those really old, beautiful, huge trees. This is one of those seeds. It has the potential to be a world tree. Your world tree. And the strength to nurture that so that it can become that, definitely. But this card always, it speaks to me about the balance between the inner self. So you have your higher self, you have the ego, and then you have the inner child. So the higher self is you. This is the divine part of you. This is your self that is observing your life, telling the story, narrating, and then this happened and that happened. It's the part of you that when you tell a story about a moment in your life, you're that narrator, you're that storyteller. The ego is present as a mask. It's like the hat you wear when you go to work, or the hat you wear when you go to a family function, or you hang out with your friends. There's different aspects or facets to yourself, your ego, that you bring to every dynamic and situation. To have all of those facets integrated within yourself, your higher self, your conscious self, and this inner child that you're nurturing and you're caring for and you're protecting fiercely, because you have this lioness vibe here. The heart is, I get the sense of like a locket, you know, where you have like those best friends, and on one side it's like half of the word best friend, and the other side is the other half, and when you meet you put it together and they fit, and that's the vibe that I get from this. Or you're holding like their picture in this locket, or a memory, or a feeling, or an emotion, a remembrance. And having that physical reminder outside of your inner experience reminds you, comforts you. Not everyone will have that, but you hold something like that so dear to you. Meaning, like, you may not have like the locket, but some, that may be a synchronicity for some. This is your hope. That this has occurred within them as it's occurred within you, and that this seed is ready to be planted, and the two of you can nurture that. This can definitely, I just had child come through my mind. This could be a child that you're nurturing. Possibly a new soul. Or a very ancient one. Either way, you're nurturing it in its vulnerability together. Okay. So I'm going to kind of do a summary here of energies for you guys. Pretty much your challenge is just to continue doing the shadow work. And there's a bit of a resistance to owning that this is legitimately where you are. This is your challenge here. Is processing out the fears that are really, they're false. That's the very basis of fear. And allowing the divine to surprise you. There's an anticipation here because you're aware of that. Okay, so the only way out is through seeking the approval of anyone outside of you to validate your intuition. That will only hinder your joy because they will be wanting their joy mixed with your joy, and then that's not really about where you're going. And then it's about where you and this other energy is going, and this other energy is outside of this reading. It's a karmic then. And the thoughts that you empower and that you choose will direct where this ends up going. And it turns, like if you own these, right? These are your hopes. If you own this and you give your focus here because you're not feeding the fear around these two, this Hierophant and the Two of Cups will go upright. And all of that will be waiting for you on the other side of this threshold. So do what you can to enjoy where you are and experience the magic of creating new beginnings. And when both sides of this manifesting each other are, in the right place to actually be in the physical with one another, it'll happen. So being present in your now and enjoying that is the challenge here. Oh, I felt like there was something that came through new there that you guys needed to hear. Confidence is key, definitely. Confidence that you have chosen the right path, that you are freeing yourself, and they are as well, that they're working through their fears. They're acknowledging them so they can be on the back burner. Yeah. And that came out like that. So it's keeping an eye on what you give to, because anger can be a strong motivator. It can be a powerful manifester, but that's something that's useful in a fight or flight situation, in a state where you're being oppressed or somehow you're going without. You may not have a lot of light around you at times, going into this particular challenge. So it's to go within, to look within, have confidence that all that you need is within you. No one can be your divine. No one can be your higher self. Only you can communicate with your own higher self. Now, readings like this, they help your spirit team guide you. They help your higher self get synchronicities to you. They help you to become more comfortable with talking to yourself, because these readings, they're meant to synchronize or validate the trust that you can have within yourself, with your intuition, that confidence in that intuition. Okay. And that this is also something that's being reflected back to you in what you're manifesting. We'll get just like one more here. Yeah. And I have a thing with this one, because anxiety is something you choose. The nervous system reads anticipation and anxiety the exact same. So it's your thought that changes that. So you can make it, you can be like, all right, well, typically, yes, this feels like an anxiety situation. And yeah, I'm kind of feeling that. But I don't want it to be a negative. I want to anticipate. I want to train my brain through intentionally saying this is anticipation, not anxiety. And in time, those neural pathways will become stronger than the anxiety pathways. There is science that backs this. I don't necessarily have like references for you, but I've heard it in multiple places from like different documentaries. So I'm sure that the material can be found. Yeah, and caution caution, because there needs to be patience with this. You're not going to immediately like turn this into the abundance card, which I need to find that. Yep, right there. Because these two, squiggly macaroni or worms or coins are cookies. Your brain, your body, your nervous system reads these the exact same. It's your mind, your choice, your conscious free will to frame it as a positive or a negative. And if you're used to doing negative, you can train your brain to consistently choose it to be positive. So the caution is to be patient with your mind, with your brain, with yourself as it's going through this. Think of it like going through like boot camp. It takes a little time to turn, you know, a high school graduate into a Navy SEAL. Like it takes some time. You just got to give the physical form a little chance to go with that. So be confident, trust, know it's being reflected, choose. Choose to reframe anxiety as anticipation and give yourself time with that. You may give into anger, and you may be aware that you're lonely or you miss this energy, or you really want this energy to come into your life. But to kind of like dust your shoulders off and go back to it. Get back up and keep going, because you'll turn into that Navy SEAL. In time, you will mindfully turn this part of you into a very strong, intentional aspect of how you choose to live. All right. Well, that is going to be kind of the summary for the reading. I have been getting reminded to invite you guys to like, share, and subscribe. This will help more individuals to get access to the synchronicities sooner that are meant for them to encounter in these readings, and just kind of help them get that confidence, that awareness that they're not alone, to move more confidently. So yeah, you can help the future people out that will be needing these messages, that will be encountering them sooner rather than later. The divine within me honors the divine within you. Namaste.